Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2. Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers. LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And lots to do over the next couple of hours. Mike McCarthy, is he a realistic chance at the next Saints head coach? We'll give that a little bit of a talk in 15 minutes. Glenn West, our normal Tuesday spot at 1:30. We're going to have Curtis Wilkinson, covers Arkansas. The Razorbacks will be here tonight for some action in the PMAC between winless teams. So we'll talk about what's going on for John Calipari in his first year up on the Hill. Tamarcus Cooley is committed to LSU. What does that mean for the Tigers secondary? And Sharif Ishaq, 2:30, talking Saints news. So lots and lots to do here on this Tuesday. We'll start this Tuesday same way we start every day, our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Jacob Beck, there are some cliches that I really, really don't like. Can you think of any off the top of your head that I really despise?
Oh man,
I'm putting you on the spot. We didn't prep this.
Yeah, let's see. Cliches.
Sharif uses it a lot.
Oh, must win.
Must win. Tonight, January the 14th, fourth SEC game for LSU. Must win.
Wow.
Stamp it. Submit it. It is. It's a must win. I
can't believe it, Hunt.
And I realize that it's actually not in the literal sense. But I think, as of this moment, if LSU goes out there and can't beat Arkansas, who's winless, and didn't beat Vanderbilt on their home floor, who's winless, outside of those games, you've now proven you can't compete in the league. And I realize there are a lot of LSU fans who are sitting here going, I already know they can't compete in the league. Have you watched the last 3 games? And that's fine. But I'm covering the team. It is the 4th SEC game. And we're going to talk about what they've got to do until it's completely irrelevant. And at this point, I don't find it completely irrelevant. But you do understand that after this game, you've got road trips coming up to top 15 teams in Texas A&M and Alabama. Then you come home to take on number 1 Auburn. And if you can't beat Vanderbilt and Arkansas on your home floor, I'm not going to give you a great chance there. That puts you at 0-7. And as we're well aware, 0-7, turn the lights out. That would mean you'd have to win 8 of your last 11 to really feel like you got a shot, and that ain't happening. So you could suggest that they're already cooked based on what you've seen. I'm going to let it play out tonight because I think they've got a real chance to win the game tonight. But I'm putting the must-win label on it, and I don't ever do that, ever. But they have to win this game for anything to be reasonably interesting the rest of the way. Now, how could they win the game? Well, Arkansas has not gotten this thing figured out yet. Now, they've played a tougher schedule than LSU, but they still lost all 3 games. They went to Tennessee and got smoked by 24. They had home games last week against Ole Miss and Florida, lost to Ole Miss by 7 and Florida by 8. They've also, in the non-conference, got losses to Baylor and Dallas by 5, and they played Illinois and Kansas City and lost that game by 13. It is a talented team. That's certainly not new to John Calipari. When his teams go out there, he's usually got some highly thought-of recruits, some draftable prospects, and they do have that. Offensively, they're 82nd in the country in offensive efficiency. They don't shoot a lot of threes, 207th in the country. All this sounds very familiar to John Calipari teams. They're top 50 in the country at 48, and keep in mind, anything in the top 50 is high-end in a sport that's got more than 360 teams in it. They're top 50 in the country in percentage of their points from 2-point range. They shoot two-pointers pretty well, 32nd in the country. They do not offensive rebound exceptionally well, 251st in the country. We know how big a deal that is to LSU on the other end, teams just crushing LSU when the Tigers are on the defensive glass. So it's an offense that is predicated, as most John Calipari offenses are, on guards getting where they're trying to get off the dribble. That's what he's done for 20 years over 3 different stops. He was like that at Memphis with Chris Douglas Roberts and Derrick Rose. He's like that at Kentucky with a bevy of different guys, starting with John Wall and all the way through. He's always had guards that are trying to get to the rim. And this year he does. He's got a couple. Boogie Fland, he brought in as the number 1 point guard in the country. He got him to Fayetteville from Harlem, 15.5 points per game. And he leads all freshmen in the nation in assists with 92 assists on the season. Boogie Fland looks to me like a pro. He's 6'2". He's composed. He shoots it pretty well. He sees the floor really, really well. He's a really good player. He is a high level recruit who's kind of running the show for them as a freshman. Then you've got DJ Wagner on another wing. He was at Kentucky last year with Cal, brought him over to Fayetteville, 10.5 points per game, shoots it pretty well. He's 6'4", and a physical guard that will try to get to the rim. Those are the guys that have the ball in their hands more often than anybody else. Now, Adu Thiro is their leading scorer. He's another wing, 6'6", 200 pounds, 17 a game. He was at Kentucky with Cal last year, and he leads the SEC in field goal percentage to this point at 60%. You don't lead the SEC in field goal percentage as a 6'6" player jacking up a bunch of threes. Arkansas is a drive it team. That's what they want to be. That's what John Calipari always has, and that's what he's bringing in to this game tonight. LSU is going to have to do a really good job of keeping those guys away from the rim. They haven't done that for 3 games. Hopefully they can do that a little bit in this game. Defensively, Arkansas has one significant strength. They block a lot of shots. They're 6th in the country in block percentage. They're 4th in the country in blocks per game. They block 6 shots per game. There are 3 guys that they've got who do most of that work. The first is Zvonimir Ivicic, Big Z as they call him. He's a 7-footer. He's huge. The second is Trevin Brazil. You probably know him. 2 years ago, he was at Missouri as a starter as a freshman, transferred to Arkansas last year, got hurt, but he's 6'10". He's an elite-level athlete. I thought he was going to go to the NBA after last year. Even with the injury, he decided to stay. He can really block shots as well. And then Jonas Adu, they brought over from Tennessee. He's 6'10", played a lot for Rick Barnes over the last couple of years in Knoxville. And those 3 guys are all 6'10" or taller, and they can all block shots. And that, to me, is a big deal when you're talking about LSU's guards. You're talking about Jordan Sears. You're talking about Cam Carter. Those are undersized guards. Sears is 5'11". Carter is 6'3" and kind of skinny. When those guys get into the paint, you're going to deal with a bunch of trees. So it might be a better situation for LSU's guards to pull up and try to shoot it from 6 feet than to go all the way to the rim and challenge Ivicic and Brazil and Adu and all these guys who block all these shots for Arkansas. You've watched John Calipari teams for 20 years. They all have 7-footers that can run and jump, and they got them again on this Arkansas team. I think that's trouble for LSU around the rim, which means you're going to have to shoot it a little bit better. I wrote a story to preview this game for LouisianaSports.net, and one of the things that I talked about in that preview, I talked about it yesterday on the show when we were looking at the game over the weekend at Ole Miss. I think Mike Williams has got to play a little bit in this game. There's nothing that's happening at point guard between Jordan Sears and Curtis Givens that suggests to me that Mike Williams needs to be planted on the bench. I don't think Mike Williams is going to show up tonight and become a run at a first-team all-league player. I don't. But I'm looking at Jordan Sears, who's struggling mightily from the field and from three-point range. I'm looking at Curtis Givens, who at times looks a little bit overwhelmed and like the game's moving too quickly. And I'm looking at Mike Williams, who last year in conference play shot 40% from three-point range and was not a turnover machine. He started like 13 games for LSU last year. It feels like that's a guy who needs to play a little bit. You're playing good guards in this game, and you're playing against bigs that are trouble. And you got to get somebody out there that can make some shots. And Givens right now is not showing he can make threes, and I don't really trust him to get to the rim against some of these guys. At least put some shooters on the floor. Maybe put Mike Williams off the ball and play Sears and Mike Williams and Carter and sit Bailey for a second so you can have 3 guys out there to stretch the floor and shoot the 3. You can't make a living, I don't think, against Arkansas trying to drive in there with a bunch of 6'4" guards. They block too many shots, and you don't have post options that are going to pull those guys away from the goal. At least Jordan Reed could shoot the three at a 37-38% clip that would make some of those guys go out to the perimeter. They don't have to go out there with Damian Collins. They don't have to go out there with Derek Fountain. Like, they're not going to respect LSU shooting the three with the bigs. So you're going to be dealing with the defense that is packed around the goal. You got to have some guys out there that can make some shots from deep. And I would like to see Mike Williams at least afforded that chance. To win this game tonight, LSU is going to have to make 10 or 11 threes. They just are. I don't think you're going to be able to win this game in the low 60s. And I don't think you're going to be able to win this game getting to the rim and creating fouls and scoring a bunch of layups. Arkansas shouldn't crush you on the glass, even though Vanderbilt shouldn't have crushed you on the glass. And you did a pretty good job against the smaller Ole Miss team on the glass on Saturday. I know that's been a big point of emphasis for LSU. I haven't looked at the line on this game. I can pull that up as I'm kind of wrapping things here. But I'll just guess. I'll put myself on the spot. I would guess Arkansas is somewhere in the neighborhood of a 3-point favorite on LSU's home floor. 1.5 is what it is. So not a terrible guess by me. Missed by 1.5. That's basically a picket. And you're at home. I don't expect any sort of raucous crowd tonight. I think John Calipari may draw some people into the PMAC. But this is a chance. And if you can win this one, you kind of rinse that taste from your mouth and see what you can do over the next 3 against really, really good teams. You lose this one, as I said at the top of the segment, I don't know how anyone could realistically point a path to this team toward any sort of significant basketball toward the end of February. I think that your hopes for this season, the players are going to play. They're going to play. Your hopes as an LSU fan can end tonight, I think. That's my analysis of where LSU is from a talent perspective, from a record perspective, and from a schedule perspective. Tonight, they've got to do something about it. And they can. This is not a great Arkansas team, and LSU has proven it can play with some mid-level P5 teams. Now, you've lost to a couple in the first 3 games. This is another one on your home floor. 8 o'clock tip-off tonight. Last chance, to me, to get it done. Beck, what's your confidence level?
I can't believe you're saying it's a must-win.
Why not?
Of all people.
What? But look at the situation.
No, I know. It's a valid argument to say that this game is a must-win for LSU. There's no question about that. It's just coming from you. I'm just a little surprised. But
I think that it packs a little more punch when you don't ever use that term.
It's true.
And then you bring it up.
Yeah, certainly does.
Here they are. They had one last time I said must-win would have been LSU Florida football.
Yeah.
After Bama, you were still kind of mathematically available based on the tiebreaker. And I think all that stuff ended up happening for LSU. All the chalk actually held, and they could have, if they had won the game against Florida, theoretically made themselves relevant in December. But they didn't. And let's see what LSU basketball can do tonight in the PMAC. That's our opening drive. What you got?
I was gonna say we saw LSU team beat John Calipari last year. So
we did. Tyrell Ward at the buzzer.
Not playing.
Look, y'all. He is not. Y'all know. I mean, I think most people know how I feel about John Calipari. I would enjoy a meal or a beer with John Calipari because he's probably got stories for days. I don't think he's a bad guy. I think his day in college basketball has passed. His trump card for a decade in Lexington was that he was the best recruiter. However you want to slice that. He's gotten in trouble 2 different places for it, but he was the best at assembling all the talent. And once everyone else caught up to that, namely Duke, who started taking all those top guys, it just never really worked out again. And like last year, he had a really talented team and couldn't do anything with it. I just don't trust him to accumulate the talent necessary and then to coach it. I just don't think he's the elite level. And I think Arkansas is in for a lot of 4- and 5-star recruits over the next 4 or 5 years and a lot of seasons teetering on the bubble of the tournament. Like, I think that's where Arkansas is headed. And I think that's probably the case with this team, which I don't think is going to make the tournament, but we'll see. They do have some talented pieces, and you'll see them on display tonight. That's our Genesis opening drive. All right, do the Saints have a new target, maybe top target in this coaching search? We'll talk about it coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group. HighlandIG.com is the website. I was actually at the Highland Insurance Group this morning chatting with their entire team. They're sharing some old war stories from the insurance days, and they were telling me about some of the successes they've had recently, one of which they found a client that had 5 different buildings, and every building had a single general liability policy on it, and all the buildings were wrapped up into one general liability policy for $1 million. What they were able to do is rewrite the policy to get $1 million per building, so $5 million of coverage for the same amount of money. That's the kind of thing that they do over at the Highland Insurance Group. They're experts in the insurance game, specifically with coverages. And sometimes it's not about cutting 18% off your insurance premium because that's really not realistic. But what if you can improve your coverage, put your business in a better spot for the same amount of money? There's value there. That's the kind of thing that they do, and that's why they win business over at the Highland Insurance Group. Contact Jonathan Carbo and his team. They're fantastic people, and they're great at what they do. If you don't have a great feel for what your insurance program does or what options may be available to you from an insurance perspective, the Highland Insurance Group is a great place to start. They're online at highlandig.com. They're right here in Baton Rouge. It's the Highland Insurance Group, highlandig.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Glenn West talking Tigers in 15 minutes. Talk about LSU football and certainly preview LSU basketball tonight as well. Looking forward to that conversation. I'll say this. I have enjoyed the early portion of this Saints coaching search. Y'all realize, obviously, that the Saints have hired one coach in the last 20 years. So we don't do this a lot. And I can't claim to be like really locked in when the Vikings or the Chargers or the Commanders are hiring a coach. Like I tell me when it's announced, that's fine. I'm not really paying that close attention, but I am paying very close attention, obviously, to this one here in New Orleans because we're covering it here. And Ross is doing a phenomenal job at LouisianaSports.net. You're kind of staying, and it's as public as it's ever been with a lot of the teams around the league publicizing their interviews after they're completed. They'll tweet out, "We just interviewed this guy," so you get a sense for like really where teams are kind of looking. And I think it's important that we evaluate the other searches in the league as the Saints progress in theirs. And you're reading tea leaves here. We don't know anything because there's only been one coach hired, and that's Mike Vrabel with New England. But the tea leaves are starting to suggest, the reports are starting to suggest, that Aaron Glenn may be leaning towards the Jets. We don't know that, but that's kind of where things start to lean. So you certainly keep Aaron Glenn bookmarked over here as someone that's a possibility, and the Saints have already talked to, but you start to survey the rest of the possibilities. Absolutely, Joe Brady's name continues to surface here for the Saints. And now you've got a new name added to the prospect list as Mike McCarthy has parted ways with the Cowboys. And the question becomes, is this a good fit for New Orleans? I'm torn on it. I'm leaning one specific direction, and I'll tell you where that is after I kind of lay out the situation as I see it. Mike McCarthy does have ties to the New Orleans Saints. He was the offensive coordinator 20 years ago in New Orleans, and he was the offensive coordinator already in place as Mickey Loomis became the general manager. Now, Loomis was already with the organization, but as he became the general manager. And so there is some connective tissue there. I'm not sure how strong that is 20 years later, but that's something to consider. And Mike McCarthy has essentially been a head coach in the NFL since 2006. That's when he took over at Green Bay, and he rode through Aaron Rodgers' prime there. They won that Super Bowl back in the 2010 season, and they were a perennial playoff team. They made the playoffs every year from 2009 to 2016, oftentimes doing so as division champions. They won the NFC North in 11, 12, 13, 14, and 16, finished second, and won the wild card in 15. In 17, they were 7-9. In 18, started 4-7-1. He was released from his duties there. He sat out for a year and then joined the Dallas Cowboys, where after a 6-10 first year, they made the playoffs 3 years in a row, winning the East twice with Dak Prescott. So you're talking about a lot of playoff runs here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 runs to the playoffs over the course of his head coaching time. 1 Super Bowl and a perfectly even 11-11 playoff record. Mike McCarthy is a good football coach. I don't know how you could argue against that. I guess you could try to suggest that he had a top 10 talent all time at quarterback in Green Bay and rode him on the backs of a division that had the Bears and the bad Lions and the Vikings in it, and just kind of got in and then got beat by whoever it was at that point in the playoffs. But that's a stretch to me. It's really hard to win in the NFL, and I don't know a lot of coaches who have taken pretty crappy quarterbacks and won a ton with them. All the great coaches that you can point to over the last 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, the great coaches have had really good quarterbacks. It's just part of the deal. And no matter who the Saints hire, if they don't get quarterback figured out, the Saints aren't going to be that good. Like, you can Ryan Tannehill it, and the Titans won a few games for a couple of years with Tannehill there. But more often than not, the teams that are really good, and therefore the coaches that are considered to be really good, are guys with great quarterbacks. Mike Tomlin's record in the playoffs is a lot better with Ben Roethlisberger than it is with everybody else he's taken up there now. That's just the way it is. Sean Payton was better in the playoffs with Drew Brees than he's going to be with Bo Nix right now. And Andy Reid's really good in the playoffs with Patrick Mahomes, and he had a really good run in the playoffs with Donovan McNabb. And the list goes on and on and on and on. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm not here to take away from Mike McCarthy because he had Aaron Rodgers. And I think going 12-5, 3 straight years with Dak Prescott is impressive stuff. Yeah, Washington was a mess. Yeah, the Giants are usually a mess. Philly's been pretty good. And he's been one of the best teams in the NFC, the lesser conference, up until this year when Dak got hurt. So I think he's a good coach, and I think that it would be a good hire if New Orleans hired Mike McCarthy. Is it as exciting as Ben Johnson might be? No. Are there a lot of people in South Louisiana with such fond memories of Joe Brady that look at what he's doing right now, by the way, with Josh Allen, and think that's the next new guy? That's the guy that's got the goods. It's not as exciting. No, it's not. He's 61 years old. He's got some warts because he's been doing this a long time. And those coaches that have never had the opportunity don't have any of those. They're just the hotshot coordinator who've never run an organization. But with Mike McCarthy, you're going to get a guy who knows how to put people in place, who knows how to manage an organization and win a lot of games. And maybe you could suggest that his record's bad in the playoffs because his teams aren't good enough to compete with the elites. Again, there are no perfect candidates here. That rarely happens. When Scott Woodward needed a women's basketball coach, there was a perfect candidate. And it was a guarantee when he hired Kim Mulkey that LSU was going to be great at women's basketball. That just doesn't exist a lot of places. So what you have to do is analyze the pros and cons of each and kind of weigh them. And as I started looking deeper into Mike McCarthy, whose teams are always in the top 10 in passing, rarely in the top 10 in rushing, but usually win a lot and are quarterback dependent, I think there's a chance there. Now, I'm not huge on Derek Carr, and I don't think Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener are the answer. And now you start to talk about a guy that's 61 years old that's going to have to get a quarterback the next offseason and potentially develop him. But I think you've got time, and I think that he's a guy who's shown he can get really good quarterback play. So Ross Jackson's got a piece up at LouisianaSports.net right now that calls Mike McCarthy the top target. He says that because he thinks Aaron Glenn is leaning towards the Jets. I think that's good. I think there's a chance that Mike McCarthy could do some good things in New Orleans if given a little bit of a leash. Not the sexiest hire in the world, but I think it would be a good hire for New Orleans as they move forward. That's kind of where I am on it. I'll be honest. When I started, I was kind of negative, and then I started to really consider everything and go, you can try to take the really super high ceiling, or you can take the high floor. And McCarthy has got a really high floor. I think there's realistic reasons to believe that would be a good direction for the Saints to go. We'll just have to see as this shakes out over the next couple of weeks. If you're looking for Saints coverage, you can always find it on YouTube at Hunt on Saints. That's available wherever you find your podcasts as well. Beck, your thoughts on Mike McCarthy as the candidate for New Orleans?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, and I was of the opinion that Aaron Glenn would be the top candidate, and for the same reasons, I'll say that Mike McCarthy would be as well, because he would be a very high floor, possibly low ceiling hire for the Saints in terms of he's been proven as a head coach. He most likely isn't going to have the same issues that Dennis Allen did, because Dennis Allen was never a head coach before, and we saw a lot of flaws in the way he tried to just develop the culture of that team, in the way he handled certain scenarios, especially the Falcons' last game of the season. So it makes a lot of sense why he would be a top candidate, and I think he is. I think he would be for the Saints. It's just it would follow a lot of the same hallmarks that we come to expect when it comes to the Saints and their decision making.
I was trying to think of a comp, and one that came to mind, kind of random, but Rick Barnes. He won a lot at Texas, won a lot. They never won the national championship. He had some really good teams, and Texas kind of got sick of it.
Yeah.
And then Tennessee was like, all right, he wins a lot, we'll take him. And then all of a sudden he's rocking and rolling there in Tennessee. You could also very much go to John Calipari if you're going to do the same type deal. Calipari won the one with generational talent and Anthony Davis, and it just kind of got stale and it just fizzled. And maybe that's the case here. you never know. That's kind of the point. You never really know. But I could get on board with Mike McCarthy for the New Orleans Saints. All right, let's talk some Tigers. Glenn West, senior writer 24/7, with us next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. Every car that's on the lot at Airline and Pico is online at Genesis of Baton Rouge, from the sedans all the way up to the SUVs. The entire line, given the IIHA top safety picks, some of them top safety picks plus. I've said this now for a few weeks, but as you're driving around, just give a look. You'll start to notice more and more Genesis on the roads, and that's because they've got such an unbelievable reputation. Get on by and see for yourself. Get behind the wheel of one, not just behind one on the road. Get behind the wheel. Let one of those brand ambassadors take you on a test drive. You can do it from the dealership. You can do it remotely. They can bring that car right to you at your office or your home. They're happy to do it. And every single Genesis that you purchase comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. And it comes with 3 years of complimentary maintenance. That's just part of doing business over there at Genesis of Baton Rouge. As I mentioned, they're on Airline near Pico, across from Women's Hospital. Fairly new in town. Get on by and check them out. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. The entire line is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, rocking and rolling on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. I opened the show talking LSU and Arkansas hoops, and I did something I never do. I called it a must-win. That's one of the most overused cliches in all of sports. It very rarely applies, and I admitted it quite literally does not apply, but for all intents and purposes, if LSU does not win this game, any hopes of playing for anything significant as February moves on are just not really realistic. And that's kind of where I am as LSU and Arkansas get ready to go at it tonight at 8 o'clock from the PMAC. Glenn West will be there. He's a senior writer at Go 24/7. He's with us on Tuesdays. Glenn, how we doing?
You use must win. I think I wrote do or die. I mean, I think I did that last week, and I think we're just in that kind of boat right now with this team.
So I said this, and I put this in the story that I wrote to preview the game. Like, I'm not 100% sure why Mike Williams doesn't see any time, considering that LSU's point guard play hasn't been great, and he has shown the ability over a year in Baton Rouge to at least make some shots. Do you think there's a chance he plays a little bit tonight?
I think he can create his own offense, and I think he's somebody that, absolutely should be more involved. I was listening to the Matt McMahon show last night. Sounds like he's going to get an uptick in minutes tonight. He'll be involved in some capacity more than he was in these previous 3 or 4 SEC games. So, I think he's somebody that needs to see the court more, especially the way things have been going. Wouldn't hurt. I mean, you got to find some offense, you got to find some creation, and he was somebody that I thought also held up well defensively last year for you too. I think he was among the team leader in steals, and so not sure what kind of led to this downturn in terms of his role, but now I think all bets are off. I think Matt McMahon has to just throw everything he's got out there and see what sticks. And Mike Williams seeing more playing time certainly kind of makes a lot more sense here going forward.
When you watch this team and you see the turnover numbers pile up, is there anything that stands out to you?
I mean, just sloppy passes at sometimes, and then other times it's just these guards are getting into LSU's guards and not giving them much breathing room at all. And I think you're seeing just, I don't want to call it panic, but you're seeing just some careless play as a result of that. They're getting double teamed. Their length is a problem, I think, right now. I mean, Jordan Sears is not the longest of guards, and he's getting pressured probably like he's never been pressured before by some of these SEC teams, and it's leading to some of those mistakes from him. Cam Carter, I think, has been asked to do more offensively than he's ever been asked to do in his career, and I think you're seeing that be a result of some of the mistakes he's made. You can go down the list there of some of the perimeter players. Curtis Givens and Victorious Miller are true freshmen that have never played in this kind of high intensity environments, week in, week out, or game in, game out, I should say. So, I mean, look, the source of the turnovers has primarily been from your backcourt, but I mean, that's not surprising. Those are the guys that have to create shots for themselves and for others. But what you're seeing is a lot of these SEC teams get a lot of pressure on them and be physical with them, and it's certainly rattled them here in these first 3 games.
Here's a question that you can't really ask in a press conference, but I can certainly ask you. I mean, how much could Jalen Reed have helped?
I think a lot. I mean, I think he could have helped you, especially in the post, give you some kind of presence down there in the paint. I mean, they have zero presence in the paint right now. I mean, Damian Collins is a guy that can get you a couple putback dunks, can maybe hit a perimeter shot every once in a while, give you a nice floater here and there. But he's not somebody you build an offense around or construct offensive scheme around. And Jalen Reed, I feel like, was. And he was starting to show that before his injury, that he could be a reliable piece in the paint to kind of back guys down, grab offensive rebounds and give LSU second chance opportunities. They don't get many of those either. I think he really could have been a big help for this team. I mean, the fact of the matter is the turnovers have kind of canceled out any positive that LSU's had on the court in these first 3 SEC games. And I don't know how much of a factor he could have helped in that respect in terms of limiting turnovers. But as far as a post presence, as far as rebounding, defending and protecting the rim a little bit, I think he certainly would have been a big boost. And I probably could have helped LSU win that Vanderbilt game at the very least.
All right, what do you see tonight? Arkansas comes in here winless with a little tougher schedule, but they haven't really put it together as a team yet in John Calipari's first year. How do you see it going tonight?
I mean, this is a winnable game for LSU. I think this is one of the more beatable opponents they have on their schedule here going forward. Arkansas doesn't really do a ton really well. I mean, I would say they block shots really well. I believe they're number 2 in the conference right now in block shots, so they could protect the rim some. But they don't do anything. In my opinion, that kind of jumps out on the stat sheet. I believe they're kind of in the middle or at the bottom of most of the statistics right now in the SEC, and they're kind of in a little bit of a rebuild mode. But at the same point, you can also argue that LSU doesn't do anything particularly well. So this is going to be it could be a sloppy game tonight. It could be a game where the team that takes care of the ball the best in the second half wins. But LSU has just got to find something that they can really lean on here over the next week or two, because the schedule is just going to get absurdly hard with Auburn coming up, Alabama coming up, A&M coming up. Like they have got to find something that they can count on, and I would love to see somebody like Victorious Miller get going again. I'd love to see Mike Williams come in and score some points for him. Limit the turnovers as much as possible. I know we're beating a dead horse here with that, but it's really the biggest problem with this team right now that just doesn't seem to be fixable. So if they can go from 17 turnovers to 11, or 10, I think that's a sign of progress to me. But at the end of the day, I think we're talking about a team that, they have to win this game, but if they don't, it's curtains on their season. And I think that's kind of the way that this has gone these last couple weeks.
All right, let's talk some football. Tamarcus Cooley commits to LSU from NC State. How does he fit into the secondary?
I think he's a great option for you at safety. I mean, a guy who can come up and help stop the run. He graded out really well last year at the run at NC State. So maybe you put him as a strong safety, and you have Deshaun Spears, Javian Toviano, Jordan Gilbert kind of battle it out for that other safety spot. But what I really think it does is it allows LSU now to maybe not feel the pressure of moving a guy like Mansur Delane around a whole ton. I mean, I think you can maybe focus him now solely on corner. Not that they weren't going to do that beforehand, but I just think there was some more versatility there if they hadn't landed a safety, for them to be a little bit more kind of open with what they wanted to do in that secondary. But I think, look, in an ideal world, I think Mansur Delane, DJ Pickett, now that you've added Tamarcus Cooley, and then one of Toviano, Spears, or Gilbert, gives you a pretty solid secondary next year, at least on paper. And you got a bunch of other guys like Jakeem Jackson and several of these younger players, Ashton Stamps, and guys like that can certainly develop and continue to grow their roles as well. So I really like what LSU's done in the secondary. Cooley, to me, just kind of feels like the finishing piece. We'll see if another safety kind of hops in and LSU wants to make a run at them. Then they certainly, I think, have the resources and have shown that they can go do that and be aggressive with that player. But Cooley was a really big upgrade, I think, for you at the safety position because of how physical he is at 5'11", 205 pounds, and his ability to tackle and help stop the run.
Do you think, we've talked a lot, or I certainly have talked a lot about the talent level in the secondary the last couple of years. Do you think that they're towards a championship level in terms of talent in the secondary, or they're just moving in that direction?
I wouldn't go that far until we get a chance to see them on the field. Yeah. I mean, I certainly think that on paper, this is a playoff caliber secondary, a team or a back half of the defense that can certainly not give up as many big plays as they have in the first couple of years with what they've done. So, yeah, look, I think this is a good step in the right direction. But again, we have to wait and see what these guys look like at Clemson, what they look like these first couple weeks of 2025 before we can kind of make any sweeping decisions. But on paper, I think they look like a playoff caliber secondary to me.
I'll see you at the PMAC tonight. I'm not going to buy a Coke tonight. I'm gonna opt out. I'm gonna opt out.
I think it's 50% off. Actually, the Tuesday games, everything's 50% off. I did see that on the sports LSU basketball social media account. So
I will consider that. I appreciate the
get some half off popcorn or something instead.
We'll see you in there tonight, Glenn. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Hunt.
You got it. He's Glenn West, senior writer. Go 24/7, all your team coverage, all your recruiting coverage. Beck, we get there's an ice chest, or there's a fridge downstairs for the media.
Yep.
And there's Coke Heavy in there.
There is,
which is delicious, very tasty. I was trying to go zero. They didn't have any.
No Coke Zero.
So I went and purchased one.
Well,
and I just felt as though because there is free available to me that I may have overpaid for the Coke Zero.
Well, Hunt, I think I covered the basketball team a couple years as well. I think we both know that if you had a talk with Kent Lowe, he may be able to supply you with some Coke Zeros, possibly.
Look, I appreciate that, and I might. Kent's got a lot on his plate. It's a game day. He's got to be worried about what's going on the scores table, getting the stats, running the rest of the guys around. He's setting up press conferences. I don't want to overload Kent with my beverage options. I will say there is ample amount of Coke Zero in the football press box and in the baseball press box. Basketball has just gone with the heavies.
Yeah.
And trust me, I love a Coke Heavy. It's very tasty. I was just trying to be a little bit better.
That's good on you, Hunt, to really. I mean, I think you can get that. I think you can maybe get that. Somebody can help you out with that.
We'll see what we can do, because I just don't know that when you look at the fact that I have free available and what I did pay for that souvenir Coke,
not worth it.
It was not a great investment on my part.
No, it's definitely not.
So we'll look into cleaning that up this evening at the PMAC. All right, let's come back and close out hour number 1 coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Closet space, not something we think about like a ton, at least I don't, but certainly my wife does. And when she moved into our first house, just was not really digging the closet situation. And at that point, I could have called David Duvall at One Bath and Closets, but we knew in the very short term we were going to be moving. So when we did move, we prioritized our closet space, and it's made a huge, huge difference. If you don't want to move but want to deal with your closet space, I've got the spot for you. It's One Bath and Closets. David Duvall and his team do completely customized work for you, and you can check it out at onebathandclosets.com. It's functional, it's customized, and it is aesthetically pleasing as well. They do beautiful work over there at One Bath and Closets. And whenever I meet with David Duvall, I always am impressed. He always brings us up. Like, we do it right the first time. We're not going to make some quick decisions, get through as quickly as possible, get to the next job, and then come back after 3 months when something's falling apart. Never going to happen. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. It's David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. Check them out online at onebathandclosets.com.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment.
Dave's back on.
Coors Light. Choose chill.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, wrapping up hour number one here. I wanted to hit on a couple of hot topics from the NFL side of things that we wanted to kind of squeeze in here. Didn't want to take away from our chance to talk about the Saints and LSU because they're not local storylines, but a lot of times we do that at the end of hour number one here. The talk about Mike Tomlin now is really heating up. The Steelers obviously lost to Baltimore, and they were dusted in that game over the weekend. They have now lost 5 straight playoff games under Mike Tomlin since reaching the AFC Championship game back in 2016. And as you know, Tomlin's never had a losing season, and the last few years, 10-7, 10-7, 9-8, 9-7, 12-4. They've been competitive and they've won a lot of football games, but they're not winning in the playoffs. And the question is, should the Steelers move on? And while I did just talk about the merits of Mike McCarthy earlier and the fact that he wins a lot of games, and Tomlin's had an even better track record than McCarthy, but my issue with Tomlin's playoff losses are that they are not stopping anybody, and he's a defensive coach. McCarthy's teams, at least, are among the NFL leaders offensively every single year. And the Steelers are struggling on defense. I'm going to give him a pass that Justin Fields and Russell Wilson and Kenny Pickett and whoever else that they have are not great players at the quarterback spot. I think it would be difficult for anybody to win a lot of playoff games in that conference with Lamar Jackson. I mean, the playoffs games he's lost, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Like, it's tough. Now, you go back to 2020, they lost to the Browns. Okay, that's a little bit of a different story. But I think Tomlin's a great coach. I'm a little concerned that his defense isn't stopping anybody, and then you've got to solve quarterback in Pittsburgh. So you either have to figure out what you're going to do at the quarterback spot, and I don't think it can be Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, and that's hard to rectify, or realize that you're just not going to be very good, and I don't know that it's Mike Tomlin's complete fault. It's one of those situations where I think the Steelers are fine to do whatever they want. If they want to move on from Tomlin, I don't think that's crazy. If they want to keep him, I don't think that's crazy. But you have to understand that you got to do something with that offense and figure out how to throw the ball a little bit better than they have since Roethlisberger left. Now, the other big topic is Sam Darnold in Minnesota. I do have strong feelings on this one. There is no chance I'm giving Sam Darnold a long-term deal, even though it's going to be mid-tier for quarterbacks, just like the Tampa Bay Bucks did with Baker, just like the Saints have done with Derek Carr. It would be in that mold. I'm not paying Sam Darnold that. I'm not strapping that much money to a guy that I think is mediocre. If I've got to have a quarterback that I'm going to attach a long-term deal to, I need him to be one of two things: a proven stud, which never comes on the market, or someone with a high ceiling. And Sam Darnold's ceiling is just not high at all. And I think you're chaining yourself to mediocrity by giving him a long-term deal, especially when you've got a first-round pick on the bench. Like, if you were going to have to find a way to get one, like I'm talking about with the Steelers, like the Saints or situation, like that changes the calculus a little bit. The Vikings have a lottery ticket on the bench that they thought enough of to draft, and you've got a great offensive coach as your head coach. There's no shot I am giving a substantial amount of my salary cap to Sam Darnold on a long-term deal. No chance. Thank you for a wonderful season this year, a great regular season. Won 15 games. That's awesome. Maybe 14 games. Won 14 games. That's awesome. Collect your $35 million a year from someone else, and we're glad we gave you that opportunity. We're going with JJ on the rookie deal. That, to me, no-brainer. I'm not chaining myself to mediocrity. And that is what you would be doing, in my opinion, by going with Darnold. I mean, those last two games, just about all I need to see. Those last two games trump the first 16 to me. Non-competitive against the Lions, non-competitive in the game last night. I've seen enough. You kind of knew that, and you caught lightning in a bottle, and that's awesome. But while you've got the talent that they've got on that roster, Darnold is a complete no-go for me. I'm not sure what they're going to do. It feels like it's Kevin O'Connell's call. He knows what those guys look like in practice. But I got to go with the rookie. You drafted him, you got to give him a chance. And again, I'm not a guy that was a big J.J. McCarthy backer as a high first-round pick last spring, but you got him. So I'm not going $35 million a year for Darnold. That's a no-go for me, sir. All right, that's it for hour number 1 here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. If you missed any of the show today or any day, you can always catch it on demand, and we are all over the place as far as where you can catch us. Wherever you find your sound, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound for podcasts, you can find us there. You can also find us on YouTube. We've got different channels that are specialized. If you're looking for LSU football, Hunt on LSU. That's all football. Looking for Saints, Hunt on Saints. That's all Saints. Looking for basketball? I don't know who you are. You're looking for basketball? Hoops with Hunt. All those are available wherever you find your sound. So if you subscribe to those, you'll get the short 10, 12-minute segments that just deal with that topic you're looking to catch up on. So please do that for us. We certainly do appreciate it. We're going to pause for Sports Center. Tons to get to in the second hour. Tamarcus Cooley has committed to LSU to play defensive back. What does that mean for the rest of the guys in the defensive back room? Where does he slide in? I'll talk about that at 2:15. Sharif Ishak talking Saints coaching search at 2:30. When we come back on the other side of this Sports Center, Curtis Wilkinson covers the Hogs. They're desperate coming into Baton Rouge into the PMAC tonight. We'll talk about it coming up in hour number 2 of a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Brack teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. there are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
This is SportsCenter.
Christine Lisi. Heat small forward Jimmy Butler not moving off his trade demand. ESPN's Sham Charania reports he repeated it in a face-to-face meeting with team president Pat Riley last week. Said he won't sign a new deal in Miami, intends to only use his $52 million player option in the offseason as a trade maneuver. With the Warriors slumping, point guard Steph Curry says he wants to see the team get better, but doesn't want any panic trade moves made. A unique message from Curry, points out ESPN NBA insider Brian Windhorst.
We shouldn't take our young players and our first-round draft picks and go get a star player now. He was basically saying, I'm not quitting, but if the front office wants to punt, I get it. He even went so far as to say, and I don't think I've ever heard this from a star player, we got to worry about where the franchise is after we're gone.
After a 12-3 start, Golden State's lost 17 of 24, trade deadline February 6. Texans waived receiver Deontay Johnson as they prep for Saturday's divisional round playoff game against the Chiefs. Had 3 catches for 24 yards in 2 games with Houston after claimed off waivers from Baltimore.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Canty. Coming up Wednesday, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Jalen Hurts. I'll tell you which quarterback is under the most pressure this weekend. It's Unsportsmanlike weekday mornings at 6, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got a lot to do in this second hour. LSU picked up a safety commitment yesterday. We'll talk about it in 15 minutes. Sharif Ishaq, 30 minutes from right now, talking Saints coaching search. Where do they go from here? I gave you my thoughts on Mike McCarthy back in hour number 1. LSU and Arkansas from the PMAC tonight. Pair of 0-3 teams in Southeastern Conference play, desperate for their first win. Curtis Wilkerson covers said Razorbacks and does so for Inside Arkansas, is also the host of the pod at the Palace. He joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Curtis, how are you?
I'm doing good. Happy to be on with you, and I think you nailed it right there at the top. A couple of 0-3 teams. Somebody's going to get a dub tonight.
Yeah, it appears that way. It's been a while for both of these two teams. I'm curious what the mood is in Fayetteville at this point. I know there was a lot of excitement when the announcement was made. John Calipari was headed to Fayetteville. He brought a lot of really big-time talent in, but it hasn't gotten off to a great start in league play. So what are the vibes up there in Northwest Arkansas?
Yeah, I think people did a good job of being patient for a while after the 0-3 start. There's definitely some frustration starting to set in, becoming a little bit more vocal out there on social media, and rightfully so. You know, it's an interesting situation here. John Calipari comes over. Obviously, that comes with a lot of a spotlight, a lot of publicity, and high expectations. Because you can say what you want about the NCAA tournament success, or maybe the lack thereof, the last few years, but you know, it's an active Hall of Fame head coach. He's won a lot of games. You know, wildly successful in the SEC and in the regular season. And then, you know, it was pretty heavily publicized there that he had a pretty hefty NIL bag that he was able to dish out there to put this roster together. So it came with expectations, and so far, and there are a lot of reasons why this is the case, but it just hasn't quite gone according to plan. And the 0-3 start to SEC play, I don't think it's that necessarily that has people a little bit freaked out, because it's been rough. You know, on the road at Tennessee, Ole Miss and Florida, both really, really good teams that they lost close games to, but it's more or less they're just not passing the eye test. It's been a rough watch this Arkansas team, I think, is very clearly just not as far along as they need to be in terms of gelling and coming together and just looking like a cohesive unit out there. It's really showed on the offensive end of the floor. And, when you're not meeting expectations, people want to know what's going on. And I think that's kind of where folks are at right now. And winning cures all. So I think they're very much in the mode of whatever they got to do to win one, whether it's pretty or not, they need to get that done tonight.
Look at them on the offensive end. As you mentioned, it hasn't passed the eye test. Is it turnovers? Is it missed shots? Is it poor inability to get shots? What's plaguing them?
Inability to get shots. I think you nailed it right there. That's the interesting thing about this team is we're just now getting to the point where they've got all 9 of their expected rotation guys available. It's been something the entire year. John L. Davis had a wrist injury at the beginning of the season. Jonas Adu was out with foot surgery. Those are their 2 big-time transfer additions. And neither one of them were available in the preseason. So you get those guys up to speed, and Trevor Brazile misses time with an ankle injury. Svanimir Ibisic in the front court has an ankle injury. He misses time. The team goes through the flu bug, goes across the roster. So they really haven't had a lot of time where they've had their full complement of players out there. So you would think it'd be real sloppy, right? But they're actually not turning it over much at all. The problem is, or I guess we'll start with the good thing, when Arkansas gets out in transition, they're really, really good. Super athletic. They convert with numbers. They play above the rim. They can be a lot of fun to watch. But when teams are able to get back, set their defense, and make Arkansas execute in the half court, nothing really comes easy for them. And that's been especially the case in the SEC play. They haven't been able to get a lot done there. Freshman point guard Boogie Flange has been so good a vast majority of the season. He's going through that learning curve. The SEC has not been kind to him early on, and as Boogie goes, Arkansas goes. That's kind of been the case, and he's been struggling. Some other guys have been struggling, and they haven't really been in a situation where they can create good looks. And the ones they do, they haven't been able to knock them down. It's been a rough go, averaging about 60 points per game through 3 SEC games, shooting at 20% from 3, about 35% from the field. It's been ugly, to say the least.
You mentioned Fland. I've really liked watching him early in his college career. He leads all freshmen in the country in assists, and he's scoring 15 a night. But as you mentioned, the first 3 in SEC play haven't been quite as smooth. When he is playing well, what do you see?
Oh, he's just got some swagger to his game. He really does. A lot of fun to watch. He's become kind of an overall playmaker for Arkansas. That was one of the question marks coming into the season was, did they really have a point guard, a table setter for this team? And he's done a good job, I think, of balancing, knowing that he's a guy who can score, one of the few guys on this roster that can kind of create, get his own shot, but also make his teammates better and get them involved. You mentioned leading freshman in assists. He's done a really, really nice job of that. I think he's at his best when he's shooting it from 3 confidently, and he shot about 40% from beyond the arc. In non-conference play, only 5 of 20 through 3 SEC games. So I think the physicality has been an adjustment for him so far. When you got to see Zakai Ziegler in your first SEC game, you'll have to grow up pretty quick there. So I think he's making that adjustment to the physicality. That's the biggest thing for me that I see in terms of him needing to pick it up a little bit. But SEC teams have done a good job, I think, of speeding him up. And he's kind of gone into the mode of scorer as opposed to point guard. And I think it's been a product of Arkansas's been down. They haven't been able to get much going through their half-court offense, and he just feels like he needs to go out there and make a play, and maybe it's not necessarily what they need from him right now.
LSU's just been awful taking care of the basketball. They're just turning it over way, way too much in league games. Does Arkansas have the ability to do that to you defensively?
They absolutely do, yeah. And that's, when Arkansas is at their best, it's very, very clear. They're creating some havoc on the defensive end of the floor. They've got some really, really good individual defensive pieces. Boogie Flan, not the most physical guy, but he's really instinctual, can get out in the passing lanes. Adu Thero, I think probably one of the more versatile defenders in the country. He can guard all 5 positions. And DJ Wagner, he's kind of that tough, strong, physical on-ball defender that can really make guys uncomfortable. They block a lot of shots, and at times they can get a lot of steals. And when they're able to do that and get out in transition, that's how you can see, an Arkansas team that goes to Madison Square Garden and beats a team like Michigan. And it's because they're able to fuel their offense through their defense. So it's not something they've done at the level that they want to or that they had in non-conference throughout the course of SEC play so far. But when they played their best basketball, that's definitely been a big part of the equation for them.
I think that's sounding like a key. If LSU turns it over a bunch and lets Arkansas get out and run, it could be big, big trouble. If LSU is able to get shots up instead of defense, maybe that's where Arkansas struggles a little bit more. One more stat I wanted to look at, Curtis, and we appreciate your time. LSU's also had a real struggle on the defensive glass. Teams have offensive rebounded them to death, including a tiny Vanderbilt team. I look at Arkansas's size, and I go, that should be a really good offensive rebounding team. Statistically, 251st in the country. How do you feel about their ability to rebound?
Oh boy, it sounds like we're talking into a mirror here. It's interesting. Arkansas has really, really struggled with keeping teams off of the offensive glass themselves. Tennessee had 24 offensive rebounds against them. Florida had 16 the other day. But yeah, it has been kind of fascinating because you're right. This is a team that's long and athletic, and you would think that they would be really imposing on the offensive glass, and they haven't been a majority of the season. Now, I think a decent amount of that is that, Jonas Adu is obviously your best rebounder, at least from an overall production standpoint in the past. And he just hasn't played that much. He was out with a foot injury. He tried to come back early in the year. Wasn't quite right. They shut him down for a couple weeks, and now he's just now kind of getting back to 100%. So it's better with him out there on the floor for sure. Trevin Brazile is a guy who's really starting to come into his own. I think he's starting to find his role, and part of that is being active on the offensive glass. And, of course, Adu Thiero, kind of an elite-level athlete that can really help him there. So it hasn't been a huge part of their game. It is getting better. One thing I will point out is that, Florida got 16 offensive rebounds against Arkansas. That's one of the best rebounding teams in the country. But Arkansas got 15 offensive rebounds against them. So I think they're making a more concerted effort to do that. They had the goal of trying to rebound 40% of their misses coming into the season. That's pretty lofty. That would put them up there at the top of the country. They've fallen short of that, but they're certainly showing signs of life on the offensive glass, I guess you could say.
Calipari's had teams that have done it. I'll never forget looking up statistics on that one Willie Cauley-Stein team that was just huge. Rebounded more than half their misses, which is almost impossible to think about. But he can do it when he puts that talent together. Curtis, we appreciate your time here on this Tuesday. Enjoy the basketball tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate you.
Curtis Wilkerson, managing editor, Inside Arkansas, host of the pod at the Palace. He, John Neighbors, and company do a great job post-game putting together their post-game shows. And I've had a chance to listen to a few of them after some Arkansas games this year. They do an awesome job. As I look at this sheet with Arkansas, and we're going to put this game to bed, I promise. We're not going to talk about it the last 45 minutes of the show. It really is a testament to how good this league is that I can look at this team with Boogie Fland, the number one point guard in the country coming out of high school last year, talking about Adu Thiero, who comes over from Kentucky, 6'6", can guard all five positions, versatile, former four-star player. DJ Wagner, big-time recruit at Kentucky a couple of years ago. Jonas Adu started some games for Tennessee over the last couple of years. Trevin Brazile has been a presence in the league for 2 years when healthy, big, freak athlete that's going to be a probably first, second-round NBA pick. That's a really talented group of players here. They're 0-3, and they haven't really had the ball with a chance to win any of the games. Tennessee just crushed them, and then they have Florida and Ole Miss come into Fayetteville and win games by 7 and 8. I know that nobody really cares at LSU right now, like that the league's good. They just want LSU to get better, and I get that. But it does, at points I just look and I go, good grief. Like, this is a team that has some real dudes on it. I've covered the SEC in basketball when it stinks. When you've got 5 teams that are awful out there. It's just not the case. And I still don't think LSU is awful. I think LSU might be the 16th ranked team in the league. I think it's possible. But I watched them in the pre-conference not stub their toe against any of the terrible teams and beat some middling Power 5 teams. Like, they're not an awful team. You plug LSU into the ACC, I think they can compete. You plug LSU into the Big 12, like, they'll probably go to Lawrence and get hammered, but I think they could compete more often than not. They're just in a league that's really good. They got a chance to win tonight. Let's hope they can do it. 8 o'clock tip from the PMAC. Let's step aside. When we come back, LSU made an addition in the secondary. Are they done there? What does that group look like? We'll talk about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com is the website. Check out the Instagram. Great feed over there for the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. It's at AVSS_video. BR. They can do easy stuff like whole home audio, the ability to use multiple speakers throughout the home. They've got some more advanced technology like some whole home automation to control lighting and shade and volume. They can do voice automation. Hey, let's watch a movie, and all the curtains come down, the room goes dark, the television comes on, the speakers perk up, and we can control everything in our house that they've installed. And trust me, they went on the low end technically for us, but we can control it all on the apps on our phone, including changing the channel on the television. So sometimes the 3-year-old loses the remote. It's happened before. I can control it all with my phone. It's really, really convenient. We appreciate Mitchell Fisher for all the work he has done at the Palmer home. They're happy to help you as well. It's audio video security solutions right here in Baton Rouge. You can call Mitchell's cell phone number 225-439-7920. Again, 225-439-7920. It's avssla.com online. Audio video security solutions, avssla.com.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Talk to Sharif Ishak in 12 minutes about the Saints coaching search. What does he think about Mike McCarthy? What does he think about Joe Brady? Is Aaron Glenn still in the mix? Who else may the New Orleans Saints be targeting? We'll do all that in 12 minutes with Sharif. Yesterday, right when we got off the air, LSU secured another transfer portal commitment from NC State defensive back Tamarcus Cooley. Cooley played a lot in the nickel for NC State this past year. His Pro Football Focus grades are fantastic. We've actually gone over those a couple times on this show, but graded out in the 80s against the run and in coverage, which is very, very difficult to do. He's not the most physically imposing dude in the world at just 5'11", but he's 205 pounds, put together pretty well, and not afraid at all to get in there and mix it up against the run, and he'll also cover. And I've contended that I felt like there was a good chance that based on who else LSU could add, that would kind of dictate where Mansour Delane was moved around. And I feel like now that you've got Cooley in the fold and that a lot of people feel like he's going to play safety for LSU, you're starting to see the defensive backfield now truly take shape for Corey Raymond, for Jake Olson, and this group on the LSU secondary side of things. You look at the corner, the boundary corners. You've got Ashton Stamps, you've got DJ Pickett, you've got Jakeem Jackson, and I feel like those three guys are slotted in as potential starters. And I think you put Mansour Delane in that conversation as well. He might be a nickel, he might be a safety, he could play on the outside, but I feel like really on the outside, Stamps, Pickett, and Jakeem Jackson. You've got Aiden Anding and PJ Woodland, who I'm going to put kind of right off to the side for right now, but those guys are in the conversation as well. You start to talk about nickel, and I think it starts with Mansour Delane and Javian Toviano. Delane has more skins on the wall, has certainly played more, has been far more productive, I think is probably a better player at this point, but you have two guys for that spot. I honestly have no real idea what LSU is going to do with Juwan Johnson. Like, he played the star role last year in fall camp, and then all of LSU's running backs got hurt, so he had to go play running back. I don't know what the future holds for him, so I'll mention him and then kind of leave that there. But right now, Toviano and Delane right around the line of scrimmage at nickel, maybe star. And then you move back to the actual safety level, and that's Deshaun Spears, Jordan Gilbert, and now Tamarcus Cooley. I think that is a vastly improved secondary. I do. I think you are more talented at corner than you were last year, and I think you have more options than you did last year. That is putting a lot of eggs in Jakeem Jackson and DJ Pickett's baskets. I get it. Jakeem Jackson was hurt all last year, but he was a starter for Florida prior to that. And right now, I'm going to put DJ Pickett in the conversation with Eli Ricks, with Derek Stingley, with Patrick Peterson, with these number one corners that LSU has brought in. They all played pretty quickly. And maybe that's unfair, maybe it's not, but the recruiting rankings are similar for these guys. It's big, long, physical length, great speed, has been a 5-star for a year and a half. Like, maybe he's not ready to play, and that could be, but he's going to get a whole spring to go through spring football. He's got a summer with the team in conditioning, and he'll have been on campus for over 8 months when LSU plays their first game against Clemson. So right now, I feel pretty good about that group at corner. I think that Delane makes a ton of sense at nickel. And then you move Cooley back to safety. I think he is absolutely a big-time upgrade. And then you let Jordan Gilbert and Deshaun Spears kind of fight it out. And I think that, to me, looks like a group that should be playoff worthy. I think oftentimes the two secondaries that I immediately the three secondaries I point to are 03, 11, and 19. That's the elite of the elite. The 03 team had Corey Webster, a longtime NFL player, had Travis Daniels, a longtime NFL player, had LaRon Landry, who as a freshman led that team in tackling and was a great player in the NFL. And then you had Jack Hunt out there with Randall Gay. Gay was an NFL player, and Jack Hunt was a really good college player back there at safety for LSU. That was a great LSU secondary. You go back to 11, that's as good as it really gets. You've got Morris Claiborne, who's as good a cover guy as there was in the country that year. You add him with Harold Simon and Tyrann Mathieu on the corners. They were fantastic, both NFL players. You had Eric Reed back there at safety with Brandon Taylor, NFL players. Like, that was as good a secondary as LSU's ever fielded in 2011. But in 2019, you fielded a group that had NFL starters, including an all-pro, on one corner with Stingley as a freshman, and then you had a really good off corner in Christian Fulton, who's still in the NFL and playing well. And then at safety, you had Grant Delpit, who is was a stud, the Thorpe winner there, and is an NFL guy. that type of talent, I didn't even mention Ron Brooks on the 11 team, who was an NFL player. That type of talent is what we have seen LSU produce over the years. This is not that to me, but it could be playoff worthy. And that's kind of what we're looking at right now. They're trying to raise the talent level of the team. Far too often over the last 2 Augusts, when I've been out at camp and I've left practice and I've come here, I've seen people in public, whether it's at birthday party or restaurant or via text message or whatever the case may be, and I'll get people to say, what do you think about the team? And I just look at I just don't know if they've got the talent level that we're accustomed to with the LSU teams that were consistently top 10 teams in the country. And I think you're getting closer here. I mean, I think it stands to reason there's a reasonable chance that DJ Pickett, Ashton Stamps, Jakeem Jackson, Mansour Delane, Tamarcus Cooley, Deshaun Spears are NFL-type talents. Do they get there or not? I'm not sure. But it stands to reason that they certainly could be. And you hope that Pickett develops into a superstar. That's the highest end talent that you have. But while you grow those guys up, you bring in guys who have played a ton of football in Cooley and Delane to help foster them along and give you a higher floor. LSU's floor in the defensive backfield the last 2 years has been way too low. And that's what some of these guys are here to do. I'm certainly, and I don't want it to sound like I'm dismissing the careers of P.J. Woodland and Aiden Anding. I'm not. I'm just assessing it the way that I see it. And all the time, there are 3-star, 4-star recruits that bust the door down and become early starters. The guy that comes immediately to my mind when I think about that is Jalen Mills, who was not thought of as the same type of recruit as the Patrick Petersons and the Derek Stingleys and the Kevin Tollivers and the Eli Ricks and the Grant Delpits and the Eric Reeds. He was just a 4-star kid from Texas, and he showed up and he started as a freshman and he never left the field and he still plays in the NFL. And that stuff happens all the time. And if Ashton Stamps has that sort of development, or PJ Woodland in his second year becomes that kind of dude, or Aiden, I'm not going to dismiss that could happen. But you've got enough depth around those guys to where you've got enough secondary players to put 5 or 6 good ones out there. I just listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 DBs. 10. I need 5 of those guys to be good players. That's half. Half. And you're in a much better spot than you have been. I think that the game specifically this year was boiled more so down to the line of scrimmage, and I think the teams that you had left in the Final Four are just ridiculous on the line of scrimmage, and that's really, really important, but you still got to cover. And you still got to make plays outside on offense. And I think LSU's got a better chance to cover with this group than they have the last 2 years. Tamarcus Cooley comes in from NC State, played a lot of football and graded out really well on Pro Football Focus. The hope is that you've got another guy in the mold of Jarek Bernard-Converse who played at a different level in a different conference that can come in, be a high-level player, and go on to be an NFL player for you. That's certainly the hope, as Tamarcus Cooley pledges to LSU. It doesn't sound like the Tigers are done in the secondary. They may be looking at another option at safety or nickel as we move forward here. We'll keep you posted if we hear anything here or on LouisianaSports.net. Sharif Ishak covers the Saints for WDSU. What's going on with this black and gold coaching search? We'll talk to Sharif coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. Look, your buying experience at Genesis of Baton Rouge is going to be luxury in every way. You're going to feel like a guest at their dealership, not a customer. Their brand ambassadors are going to help you every single step of the way. That may be inside the store, which, by the way, is gorgeous. It may be outside the store. If you choose to have them come to you, they can do e-contracts, digital delivery. They can drop the car off at your home or your work, and you never have to set foot on the dealership. It's that kind of convenience, that kind of customer service and customer care that Genesis absolutely prides itself on. Give them a shot. Either go to the dealership online at genesisofbatonrouge.com or go see them on Airline near Pico. If you're looking for a car in Baton Rouge, a lot of times you end up on Airline Highway. Just make one more turn and check them out on Pico and see what Genesis has to offer you. From the sedans all the way up to the SUVs, phenomenal line of vehicles, comfortable, sleek, stylish, very, very safe. It's a luxury vehicle at a reasonable price. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every car on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com.
There it is, the extra mile. on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Work week's off to a good start. Chilly Tuesday here in the capital city. We've talked a lot of LSU and Arkansas hoops, talked some LSU football there. We've been talking about the black and gold as they try to inch closer and closer to a new head coach. We know that they've interviewed a number of candidates. Mickey Loomis met with the media yesterday. Sharif Ishaq covers the black and gold for WDSU. He's with us every single Tuesday. Sharif, how are you?
I'm well.
I'm glad to hear that. It sounds like you're doing awesome.
Yeah, still processing Mickey Loomis' press conference.
Let's talk about that. What'd you think? He had a lot to say.
He had not really. He said almost the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Really didn't say much until the very end. But, I left thinking there's a lot of unresolved issues still. I mean, double down on Dennis Allen being a good coach, double down on look beyond the results, doubling down on no accountability, doubling down on a lot of denial. I mean, this franchise is not really in a good spot. I know he says it's in a good spot, but looking at the roster, what happened last year, I mean, it's not in a good spot.
Do you believe if we got Mickey Loomis to truthfully answer the question that he really believes that he had a really good coach, a really good roster, and it just all got derailed by injuries. And if not for that, the Saints would have been a really good team this year. Do you think he really believes that?
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt. I mean, he said it yesterday. I mean, he went to bat for Derek Carr, saying if he doesn't get hurt, you never know. I mean, he was eligible for somewhat. He was trying to compare his completion percentage, or trying to say he would have had a high completion percentage. I was a little thrown off by that because he would have been eligible if he had a few more like snaps or games. Some of it I was like, man, I'm like, what is going on here? Just listening to it. At points in times I was a little dumbfounded, to be honest with you. It was like that Billy Madison when they were doing the trivia and Norm Macdonald, I forget who was the host on the show, was like, when he explained that answer, he's like, we are literally all stupider for listening to this.
Okay. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Yeah.
Is that what we're looking
right.
for? Look, so I thought entering this season, the Saints did show a little bit of a different strategy in not signing free agents and not extending a bunch of contracts. It felt like they looked at it as a bit of a soft reset. Do you expect a change in what they do organizationally moving forward? Do you think there's a chance they trade back in the draft? Do you think they'll continue to let these contracts expire and not double down and try to extend them and do the salary cap gymnastics? Or do you think they're going to do the same thing that they've been doing for the last 10 years?
I think they're going to have to do somewhat of a soft rebuild at least, man. They have to at this point. I mean, they're $65 million over the cap. They a lot of old veterans on who have big contracts. They have to do some kind of maneuvering, man. They have to do some kind of maneuvering where they fix this cap, because the next head coach is going to be straddled with at least one bad season next year and some bad contracts, and then they have to move on. They have to restructure. Somebody's going to have to take some pay cuts. We already know Derek Carr isn't taking a pay cut.
Yeah.
It's just finding it. It's like finding where you can do this without continuing to kick stuff down the road and inflating this salary cap that, has been an issue. But hey, at least it isn't $100 million like it was a few years ago.
Yeah, just down in the 60s. Anything else that you took from Mickey before we start getting into potentially who the Saints could hire? How do you feel like he thinks that the Saints present themselves as an opportunity to the next coach?
There was two different questions about that. One was asked, is it an attractive job? And he said yes, because of the owner, the stability, which he's right. The owner, Gail, is a good owner. And she doesn't get in the way. Maybe sometimes people would like for her to get involved, but look at Dallas. Look at Jerry Jones, a total disaster over there. I'm not sure if you really want your owner involved in every single thing. Stability, yeah, they have stability for most part. Yeah, they do. And then the fan base, that's the one thing. But another question was asked, you have to sell it to the candidate. And he's like, no, I really don't think this is a selling process. You have to sell it. I think this is more of like we are interviewing each other. We have to find, the right coach. And look, the pressure's on for Mickey Loomis to find the right coach, and they have to get back on track. It's about as simple as I can put it. And he actually, Fletcher asked him a question about, you can now say after firing Dennis and having a 5-12 season, can you admit that you have a problem? And yeah. But he also said it's not just Dennis. It was everyone from top to bottom. But then he went into the injuries again, and that's when you got the whole look beyond the results. Sometimes It's not really the results. You know the story by then with the results thing. But yeah, and that's what I kind of took from it. The coach is going to have to say so, and his staff and the quarterback. And that's the thing I'm looking forward to the most when they hire a coach. Is it going to be that guy who can keep or, go Derek Carr or go somebody else? That's what I'm looking forward to seeing.
That part of it, because you feel like they're so hamstrung by the salary cap next year. I mean, I don't know that. I mean, obviously, if you let go of Derek Carr entering the 25 season, you're not going to have him in 26. But I don't think you're going to have him in 26 anyway. So if the season's not going to be that great, I'm not as concerned with that. Do you think we'll get resolution on that really quickly?
Here's the thing. It's going to be tough to get rid of Derek because of the $51 million cap hit, and him already saying, I am not taking a pay cut. So something has to give at some point. Like, I don't know how this is going to work out. Like, you can just do what the Broncos did with Russell Wilson and say bye and eat the cap hit and just go draft a rookie quarterback, do something. I mean, I'm not saying you should draft a quarterback in this draft because it's not that great, let's be honest. Or you can just go with Spencer Rattler and just see what happens in 25. And if it goes south, you're getting a top 3 pick and you draft a quarterback like Arch or Drew Aller or Garrett Nussmeier, somebody. So it's a tough one to think about with the $51 million cap hit.
It is. That part of it will work itself out eventually. Let's talk about some of the names that have surfaced. What has stood out to you about the names that the Saints have brought in?
It's comfortable versus uncomfortable, knowing versus not knowing. You know, the franchise loves being, comfortable with people they know. So there are guys out there, Mike McCarthy, Aaron Glenn, even Joe Brady. They do know Joe Brady. And I would say those are your 3. Those are probably your top 3. And if you ask me to put it in what order, if you ask me to put it in my order, I would go Joe Brady, Aaron Glenn, Mike McCarthy. Their order is probably Mike McCarthy, Aaron Glenn, Joe Brady. So I prefer to go, let's go out of the box. Let's go some 35-year-old hot shot. Give him a chance to prove himself. Give him a few years with Joe Brady. Let him be an innovative young offensive mind. Let him do his thing like he's done in Buffalo. Didn't succeed in Carolina, but who succeeded there with Matt Rule? That was a terrible situation. Yes, he has Josh Allen, but still, a lot of good offensive coordinators usually have good quarterbacks, good offenses, good receivers. You got to give him a chance eventually. So I go with the young, up-and-coming offensive mind. I like Aaron Glenn, too, who's got some skins on the wall, and he's been through it in Detroit and revived that program alongside of Dan Campbell. So, and this year has been great because he's played with a lot of guys who have injured. And look how far they've gotten this year with all the injuries they've had in his defense. I'd be fine with either one, but if you ask me, I'll go Joe Brady just because it's a little bit outside the box and it's an offense. You don't have to recycle guys. You don't have to recycle an offensive coordinator. You got a play caller there with Joe Brady.
Why do you think Mike McCarthy would top the Saints' internal list?
Well, because of his ties here, being the offensive coordinator back in 2004. So that to them, and he's been there, done that. But to me, I'm like recycling the coach. Been in the league, 18 years. You compare his record to Sean Payton's record, it's almost the same. Same amount of Super Bowls, 2 great quarterbacks. His stint in Dallas is what it is. You're working with Jerry Jones. And Jerry, he can be tough at times, but he's won. Yeah, he's won. But, how is he going to handle the draft process? How is he going to handle, does he get any say-so in drafting and player personnel? How is his offense going to be without, a top-tier quarterback? That's, a lot of questions you have to ask. Just look what he's had. He's had Dak and he's had Aaron. Those are 2 good quarterbacks, great quarterbacks, and he's not walking into a great quarterback situation. So it could take him a little while. Does he have the patience? I mean, does his game translate into, a franchise like this right now? I just have a lot of questions. Now, I'm not saying he's a bad head coach. I'm just saying maybe he's not the right head coach.
All right, what do we think about timeline here? We figured the Lions are going to be around for potentially another week. Let's see if Jaden can do. But do you think that it's got to – what are you looking at timeline here?
I would say, look, Hunt, it's got to be with a week before or after the Super Bowl, leading into the Super Bowl or after the Super Bowl, because you have to interview 2 in person. You have to have 2. I think you have to have 2 interviews in person before you make a hire. And I think those 2 interviews have to be minority candidates too. So they still haven't done any in-person interviews. So they have to go through that process. And I'm seeing the reports that Mike McCarthy is going to interview next week. So, and then you go from there. I mean, are they going to be comfortable with Mike next week? Maybe, but they still have to go through the entire process. And that's one thing that Mickey said yesterday. They're going to go through their process regardless of what happens with another franchise hiring a coach. They want to make sure they do it their way, go through the entire process. So it could take another 3 weeks. It could take a month, for all I know. Last time, whenever they named Dennis Allen the head coach, I think it was right after the Super Bowl. So that would be my gut, would be around right after the Super Bowl. Another 3 weeks.
If you get a Bills-Lions Super Bowl and you're hiring one of Glenn or Brady, you can just walk them right off the stage over down to the press room and just do it there.
I mean, I would be great with that. Have nothing wrong.
All right, Sharif Ishak, WDSU. We'll talk next week. Thanks, man.
Anytime, Hunt.
Always enjoy our chats with Sharif, even if he doesn't give us very enthusiastic. I'm fine at the beginning of the interview, but it happens sometimes. But it's I'm fascinated by this whole coaching search thing and the twists and turns that have happened along the way. We'll see how the resolution shakes out over the next couple of weeks. Let's come back and close it out next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil and Melissa have been running the shop 40 years down there in Napoleonville. Justin, their son, now taking the reins. Every single Generac home standby generator that you purchase from the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical is going to come with a 7 to 10 year warranty. 7 to 10 years of the peace of mind of knowing the power is not going to go out on you. If you're a homeowner, obviously look into this, especially if you're someone who works from home. You can't have these summer thunderstorms coming through here in a few months, and you're at home trying to get some work done, and the power goes out for 4 hours. It happens down here in South Louisiana. Give yourself the peace of mind to know it's not going to happen at your house. That generator coming back on, it's one of the greatest sounds in the world when the power does go off and you hear that generator firing up and everything comes on. It's a really depressing sound to hear if you're like in my old house where the next door neighbor had the generator and I didn't. So when the power went out at my house, you just heard theirs powering up and we were just stuck in the dark. That's not great. You can change it for yourself. Boudreaux's Electrical, you can find them at 985-397-1562. Again, 985-397-1562 or 225-300-9389 in Gonzales. That's 225-300-9389. That's Boudreaux's Electrical, boudreauxelectrical.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Congratulations to our grand prize college football bowl pick'em challenge winner, Mark Mancuso. Mark wins $1,000 cash and a $200 gift card from Hooters. $2,000 would be a lot. Thanks for playing the Hooters College Football Bowl Pick'em Challenge presented by Yingling. And we've got the NFL on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. All of the playoffs coming to you this Saturday at 3:30. Chiefs and Texans. Then the Commanders, Jaden Daniels and Lions at 7. Then Sunday, the Vikings or Rams and the Eagles. Well, it's actually going to be the Rams. The Vikings lost. Not a very good game for the Vikings there at 2 p.m. Then the Ravens and Bills at 5:30. That's your home for the NFL playoffs and Super Bowl 59, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
How'd you think that promo went?
Not that bad, actually.
Just one team wrong?
Well, this was written yesterday, so they didn't know if the Vikings or Rams had won. So that's the kicker there.
I'm really upset right now.
About what?
Sharif had breaking news. It's published out on Twitter, on the website, WDSU.com, breaking news by Sharif Ishak, and he doesn't tell us.
That's going to be a problem. We're going to have to talk to him about that.
That's very poor form by Sharif. We should be the first to know, not the website, not the Twitter folks that deal with his actual business, the people here that listen to him every week.
Yes. And we compensate him very well for his appearances
we do.
Here.
He has received a grand total of, let me carry the $0 over the course of 4 years. Blake Dean is leaving the UNO baseball program to pursue an opportunity outside of baseball. Blake and Sharif have known each other since Blake Dean's days playing here in Baton Rouge, and Sharif is reporting that Blake did a really good job taking over for Ron Maestri at UNO. He had a winning record overall, 256, 220, and 1. He won more than he lost in the Southern Conference, 122 and 113. They had a winning record 8 of his 9 seasons on the lakefront, won 30 games 5 different times. That's a really difficult job, UNO. It's really underfunded, and that athletic program had a really hard time coming back from Katrina over the years. Now, you had a really good run from Coach Schlesinger in basketball. Did a great job there, and I thought Blake did a really good job in baseball. It's curious timing, and I'm sure that Blake doesn't love the fact that he's leaving right here a month before the season starts. That's really tough on that program, but I'm assuming that this is an opportunity that couldn't wait until June. So I don't know what it is. It doesn't suggest what it is, but Blake Dean, one of the great players in the history of LSU baseball, has been the head coach there at UNO for 9 seasons, and he will be stepping aside to pursue an opportunity outside of baseball. So Sharif Ishak with that story at WDSU, just didn't feel the need to tell us about it here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We got a couple minutes. Let's do Take It or Leave It.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it.
All righty, first one here. FBS coaches voted today in favor of a proposal that would reduce college football's transfer windows down to a single 10-day period in January in an effort to preserve the integrity of the bowl season and put guardrails on a system many coaches have lamented as entirely broken. This is from ESPN. One transfer window. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
Do it. School starts pretty quick, so you're going to have to figure out when you're going to do that, and there still is a playoff. LSU started school yesterday. We still have a playoff game to play. I realize that only affects literally 2 programs out of all of them, and we probably can't tailor the rules just for that, but it's the same thing that, college baseball coaches are trying to assemble their next season while they're in Omaha getting ready for a game. That's not great either. So there are issues, and if they can work that out, I'm good with it. But you've got to deal with school here as well, which is something they've got to consider.
Next one here. Eagles coach Nick Sirianni defended receiver A.J. Brown after he was seen reading a book on the sideline during their 22-10 win over the Packers. Sirianni said it was, quote, lazy to assume Brown was doing this as a show of frustration, as he was only targeted 3 times in that game. reading on the sideline. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
I don't care what. I'd rather probably that you talk to the quarterback or to see what you can do to stay involved in the game. But if you need to chill out and read something, I don't have a massive problem with that. Now, if you get a delay of game because you can't put the book down and get on the field, I guess
I gotta finish this chapter,
we'll
Coach.
have a conversation. But as long as I don't know what the difference is between that. And staring at the iPad and film, you're just not playing at the moment. So I'm good with it. It is whatever.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too.
I won't be reading a book during that time, but it is what it is.
The last one, rumors are beginning to swirl that Deion Sanders could be a potential head coach candidate for the job in Dallas. Sanders said, quote, "To hear from Jerry Jones is truly delightful and it's intriguing. I love Jerry and believe in Jerry. After you hang up and process it and think about it, it is intriguing. Deion and Jerry, take it or leave it."
I'll take it. Those two are kindred spirits, I think. They've both had a ton of success in their lives, and they both think a lot of themselves personally. So those kind of go hand in hand oftentimes. I don't think he's going to get the Cowboys job.
Probably not.
But I think that's Jerry Jones just making that phone call because they've got such a great relationship, and that's just kind of one of the things that you do. So that's it for a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Beck, does LSU beat Arkansas tonight in the PMAC?
No.
That's real confident of you.
I want to say that LSU is going to win, but I don't know how I can
Are you calling an 0-18?
No.
I mean, it's on the table.
It's on the table, of course. They haven't won yet, so it's possible.
I hope they win. I'm not picking them to win. I'm not picking them to lose. I'm opting out of the selection for this game. I'm opting out of the selection in this game, but I'll be there, and I'll write about it for LouisianaSports.net. You can check that out. We're done. If you missed anything, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Back tomorrow. Matt's going to drive you home next. It's AFR on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The Hunt Palmer Show.